I am really excited about this year. I can't tell you how excited I am about this year. Because the American people have awakened. What we have seen, remarkable challenges that we face as a nation, yes. But when folks look and see what's happening in Washington, they don't recognize any of the solutions, right? Because they're not American solutions. So you get these jokers up there who are doing all kinds of things, and folks say, you know, you've done it. You sat at home, you watch the television, you listen to the radio, you're driving down the road, and you think to yourself, what the heck are they doing? Right? Because you don't recognize what's going on. Because these folks don't have the foundational principles at their heart and at their core. And that's where they got off track. They got off track from the very, very first day. So why I believe the American people are so angry. Are you angry?
Yeah.
And we're angry. And with no apologies to the President or to Speaker Pelosi, yes, we will fight for this country. We will fight because we believe, we know, that if we simply embrace fundamental American principles, there are solutions to all of the challenges that we face. And that's why we're so excited about this year, because this fellow's done what those of us in the trenches of politics for a long, long time, the Twigleys and others, have a hard time doing. And that's getting people excited and enthused, right? Well, we're excited and enthused right now, right? And we can't wait. I want to do a couple things this morning in the few minutes that I have. I want to talk specifically about the health care issue, because it is really what has captured the American people's attention and enthusiasm for why it's important to have different folks in charge in Washington. And I want to mention 10 specific solutions that I believe will lead us on a pathway to conservative victory. And then I'm going to share with you some optimism. You ready for some optimism? Yeah. The health care bill on your table, I think, will be one of these things. I'm privileged to chair the Republican Study Committee, which is a group of House conservatives. And what I did to our folks in the House is to challenge them and say, look, we know that there are solutions that embrace fundamental American principles, but all of the challenges that we face, we need to put them forward, because the role of the minority, remember, is to hold the other folks accountable and to provide that contrast, right? That positive, upbeat, optimistic contrast. And this is just FYI, for your information, if you like. These are the kinds of concerns that we have with the bill that was passed. Because the bill that was passed doesn't reflect those fundamental principles. Whatever yours are for health care, whether it's quality or accessibility or affordability or innovation in the system or choices or responsiveness of the system, none of those things are improved by the further intervention of the federal government. Not one. And so these jokers have put this thing in place, mostly having not read it. Did you see Phil here the other day? Yeah. The guy who said he read it 3 times, right? And the fellow who was filming him was computing how many minutes that would take, and said, you really read it 3 times? Yeah. And then he said, well, what about the Constitution? And old Mr. Hare from Illinois said, well, I don't care about the Constitution. Isn't that chilling? Isn't that chilling? You got a member of the United States House of Representatives who says, I don't care about it. Which is why we are going to have a wonderful, wonderful year. Because the American people recognize that at the core and at the base of the Democrat leadership and the Democrats in the House of Representatives and the Senate are individuals who don't embrace those fundamental American principles. So I can't tell you how excited I am, especially in the area of health care, because there are positive solutions. And we have put those forward. Let me tell you the 4 points of the way forward on health care because of the ridiculous nonsense that they passed. First is every single day we're coming out from the Republican Conference and the Republican Study Committee with one of the consequential detrimental aspects of this bill. And there are so many. It's a target-rich environment. There's no doubt about it. The one big one last week, you heard that Caterpillar had to write down $100 million, John Deere $150 million, and AT&T $1 billion. That's real money. And then Henry Waxman, on the Energy and Commerce Committee chairman, said he's going to call those folks before the committee to explain why they're having to write it down. Well, Mr. Waxman, read the bill. It's in the bill. These are the real-life consequential aspects of that legislation. And as you know, every single dollar that is taken from the private sector and moved to the public sector is a dollar that can't create economic activity and vitality in communities across this land. And that's why this bill is wrong. That's why this bill is wrong. So what we're going to do is point out those consequential aspects. Second, we're going to support all of the constitutional challenges that are being brought forward on this bill. Whether it's the state attorney general or whether it's individuals, I'm not sure which one, but I believe there are aspects of this bill that are absolutely unconstitutional. I believe the individual mandate is unconstitutional. And this whole thing's a house of cards. If you pull that out, the whole thing collapses. The individual mandate, the first time, think about this, the first time in the United States where the federal government says, you must purchase a service, and this is what it must be. People compare it to Social Security, which is just apples and oranges. Because Social Security, if this bill were Social Security, they would say, you must purchase Social Security, and you cannot purchase anything else for your pension plan. That's the difference. This bill is as oppressive and far-reaching as it can be. I think the differential treatment between union and non-union health care policies is unconstitutional. There are all sorts of things about this bill that are atrocious and I believe unconstitutional. We're going to support all of them, and you ought to as well. Whether you've got connections with different groups that can provide friend of the court or amicus briefs and the like, please do so. Encourage your folks to do so. Third, we're going to replace the folks that voted for this bill. We're going to repeal this bill, and we're going to reform it with positive patient-centered solutions to health care. Because the status quo is unacceptable, but that there are positive solutions that embrace fundamental American principles. And finally, fourth, we're standing here in April of 2010 having this discussion, not because of April 2010 or March 2010, but because of November 08. Right? Yeah. Elections have consequences. So all of your energy and my energy and the energy of folks across the state is going to be focused on November 2010 so that we put in place the appropriate checks and balances and we don't have to deal with this kind of nonsense or craziness again. Right? That's our 4-point plan on health care.